Well, hello, welcome to the PostSunday App. My name is Ben Davidson. This is Daniel Bennett, and we are here to talk about the sermon Post-Sunday and the applications that come from it.
Yeah.
I have two quick questions for you about the Post-Sunday App.
All right.
Surprise questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Here. Okay, one, how
we,
often...
We go through this lengthy rehearsal process, and then,
right.
And then all of a sudden I get surprised.
Shake it up.
Yeah, okay. Two questions.
How often do you think about what you're putting on in the morning as it relates to the Post-Sunday App?
You
think about it every once in a while?
Yeah, surprisingly, I think I do. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
You're like, really?
Yeah.
But,
and that's what you chose?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I do.
Do you?
I don't change what I'm going to wear, but I'm like, I probably should. You know what I do? Here's what I think about it. I think, what did I wear yesterday? And what did I wear last week?
Okay.
Because I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember colors very well. I don't remember. So it's like, I do think about it, but it's like, did I wear this shirt last week? Did I? Yeah. So that's kind of, how about you?
That is probably the most panic moment I have. I don't think about it till I get in the car. And I'm like, oh no, did I wear this last week? Because I can't keep track.
It's 8 people.
So
I guess
the throngs of people are clamoring to know our wardrobe choices. Okay, the other quick question is, how many people do you think in the history of the Post-Sunday App, which goes back, I think, 2016, maybe-ish, 2015, I don't know, I can't remember, have actually gone on their app store looking for an app called the Post-Sunday App?
0?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody say,
Where's the Post-Sunday App?
Yeah, right. Now, we should say, though, we're talking about visual. We have started putting the Post-Sunday App onto Spotify.
Okay, has it worked?
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you are watching this and thinking, boy, I wish I could listen to this on
I'd have to see them.
The go. Yeah, that's even better.
Because they keep wearing the same thing every week.
I can't stand the look of these two. Yeah. Let's go to audio only. That is available now on our Spotify.
Cool.
So, anyway, on to more important things.
Yeah.
The sermon, 1 Samuel 15. And I want to talk about last night. Maybe we should do that first.
Yeah, let's talk about last night.
Last night was a very sweet time of our church gathering for a family meeting, we call them. And do you want to share some highlights of what we did there?
We approved the budget for next year. It was a voice vote, and it was unanimous in voice vote. I didn't hear any no's.
I didn't hear any no's either. No.
And good questions. I thought our church is just really improving in its comfortability of asking questions in a meeting. So I appreciate that. And we approved all of our officers, and we approved Jordan Embry for the church plant pastor position, and Jake Valensic for our family and discipleship and family intern. As an intern.
Discipleship intern.
Yeah. And it was like 98.4% was the lowest.
They were all overwhelmingly.
Yeah, so
yes.
We don't normally announce. We don't normally announce this many votes, but it's always. I think everything's always above at least 90%, 95%.
Oh yeah. So, at least.
It's a very which hopefully people feel comfortable asking questions and voting no if they feel like they need to. But very grateful for the unanimity.
Yeah, I appreciated your leading us through the word before that, just helping us to have that vision for, there's risk in going forward here with a church plant, with hiring more staff, and just for the sake of the gospel and God's glory, it's worth the risk. And I thought about the risk that Bethany Baptist took when they planted us. They were in the middle of a building campaign and all that.
Yeah.
And they kind of released 250 plus people to come over here and plant a church. So that was a big risk. Yeah. So it should require faith, right? If it was all calculated, we have every jot and tittle down, we maybe wouldn't be as dependent on the Lord.
Absolutely.
So, thankful for that.
Same.
So, all right. Well, 1 Samuel 15, the title of the sermon. I got to scroll up. I had the whole chapter in my notes here. The heart, I should have known this, the heart that God rejects, part 3. Should have known the title.
No,
third title.
I had to think about it for a second.
So, but this was a convicting sermon. I had someone walk by me in the lobby looking for you, saying, I got to tell them this was convicting. And I have had many a person in our care group even talk about just this is a convicting book of the Bible.
Yeah.
So very thankful for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that you had to cut, you said you had to cut quite a bit.
Yeah.
The fruit of worldly sorrow, you said in particular, was an area that you had to cut quite a bit on.
Yeah. 2 Corinthians 7, Paul talks about worldly sorrow and godly sorrow. And I just wanted to make sure we understood, okay, that the things that we're seeing in Saul's life are the fruit of a worldly sorrow. So you can look at someone and you talk about their sin. They say, oh yeah, that is sin, eventually, with Saul, right? And they feel really, really bad, crying, grabbing the robe of Samuel. He turns away. And you think, oh, that's sorrow. Well, it's a godly sorrow. And here's what Paul says about a worldly sorrow. He says, worldly grief produces death. This is 2 Corinthians 7. Then he contrasts that with godly grief. Godly grief produces a repentance that leads to salvation without regret. And then he talks about the fruit of a godly grief. He says, for see what earnestness this godly grief has produced in you, but also what eagerness to clear yourselves. What indignation, what fear, what longing, what zeal, what punishment. Every point you've proved yourselves innocent in the matter. And so I just wanted to encourage people, as you think about Saul's response and our own response, we want to have a heart that exhibits godly grief. I'm eager to clear myself and to change direction, not just replace one sin with another, which is what Saul does.
Yeah. And I think as you went through verses 17 through 31, a response of the unrepentant and that worldly sorrow, boy, it was convicting. The idea of doubling down on our sin, and I know you might be a little bit convicted, or someone's telling me like, hey, I see this in you. Like, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Whether it's, I think of relational strife, I'm not going to ask forgiveness because they did this first to me, or what we're viewing. There's so many ways in which we can not fully repent.
Someone did tell me yesterday, they said, I was wondering if you could use the phrase double down one more time. It's like, yeah, I did kind of use that a lot. But, sometimes you get this phrase in your head and you can't think of another word to describe it. So you just keep on saying it. I doubled down on double down.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Nice.
So,
yeah. Okay, well, you mentioned politics a little bit, or politicians.
Yeah.
And a quote of "I am your retribution."
There.
So you got some feedback.
I did
on that.
So
surprisingly, some feedback. So what do you want to?
Yeah, I guess the main thing I would want to highlight is here's the point. The point was, I wasn't trying to tell people who you need to vote for, especially like in a primary, because it's a primary season a little bit. It's about to heat up. And so when I said I'm not telling you to vote for, what I meant was, look, I'm not trying to tell you what candidate to eventually vote for in the primary or whenever, at this point. But I was wanting to talk about motivation. And so the phrase, I am your retribution, I think is not a great phrase for a Christian rally around. And someone asked me, or most people who asked me about it, was like, that was Trump, right? That was Trump. So yeah, probably not surprising that was something that he said. And so my caution for Christians would just be to whoever candidate you decide to vote for, don't let your motivation be, I want someone to enact vengeance for me personally on those who hate me. Now, two comments I got that maybe be helpful to think about, and when I talked to this person about this comments, and I said, well, Meg mentioned the PostSunday app, he thought it would be helpful. One person kind of asked me, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but he said, are you a Democrat? You're why do you always criticize a politician like Trump, but you don't criticize Biden? Like, oh, well, I feel like I do. So the answer is no, I'm not a Democrat. I don't think there's any, maybe a guy could change a political party, but I can't imagine a home in that political party. I can't imagine voting for a candidate in the general election or anything like that. We're giving out 2 books, and one book is what does the Bible say about homosexuality, and the other book by Truman is Strange New World. Like, I can't imagine those positions are we have a pro-life Sunday, you know. So no, I'm not, and I can't imagine a home in that place. So so yeah, hopefully that answers that question for people who are concerned about that. And I think maybe you would say different, but I would guess that there are probably 5 people in our church who maybe voted for a Democrat in the last election, maybe more, maybe one hand. I'm not really concerned about a rising liberal political tide in our church, but I am concerned that as we vote for candidates, we have the right motivation in doing so. So I'll probably, you know, but I do try to talk about social issues and how Christians should think about them, and I can't imagine being at home in the Democratic Party or whatever. So hopefully that's helpful for people who are struggling with that. And I was actually offended by the question at first. You know, like how could someone think that? But I do understand a lot of people who took positions I have taken about the in the 2016 election, the 2020 election, and had concern, like they have gone left in some, like I think of a guy who was kind of the Never Trump guy, and now he's pro homosexual marriage and stuff. So I understand people are maybe scared about that, and so just to no, I'm not going left. I have my convictions now. I feel like I'm talking too much. Do you have a follow-up on that?
Well, I was just going to say, I think what you were helping us to do yesterday is say, okay, here's what the Bible says. And so let's make sure as we think about the primary elections that we think through, okay, how does the Bible inform me?
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at the landscape and saying, what do I prefer, and letting our emotions lead.
Yeah.
Which I think, emotionally, my flesh says, people that would attack me or attack the positions I have, I want them to suffer. On an emotional, fleshy level.
Yeah.
But you were helping us to say, okay, let's think biblically first and not allow our emotions to take. I mean, you didn't say those words, but of course we don't want our emotions to take charge.
That's good. Now, then I got an email about this as well, and someone said, that they knew who I was talking about, and they said they were kind of coming from the other side. They said, I think they're conservative and stuff, but they said, I can't see how other Christians can vote for Trump, And so to that sister, I would say, we have, I would say most of the people in leadership at Bethany probably did. I didn't take a poll, it's not, but I'm guessing most of them in the last general election did vote for Trump. And I think if you asked them their motivations, they would give you really good motivations. They would say, well, look, for me it was a binary choice, and this choice was going to go this direction, and this was the choice that I believed had the best chance of pursuing the values that I hold important. The pro-life judges and a push, at least a protection for those who don't want to see the transgender movement pushed upon people. So I think it's important for all of us who are Christians to say, look, here's my motivation is godly, and none of us can see the future. And I think this, hopefully, I try to say less about this than I have in the past, because I really don't know the future, and I don't know if we pursue A route or B route, which is going to be more effective. Now, I might say route C, D, and E are totally off limits for a believer. You can't do those, or I would strongly not recommend those. But between A and B, maybe even C sometimes, like, okay, I don't know, but I a lot of men and women that I respect felt like this candidate was the best candidate to vote for to pursue godly ends. And so I'm going to say, look, some of these guys are my spiritual leaders, and I could be wrong on this, and so I really want to support them in that.
Yeah.
And other people said I can't do that, and I respect them too. And so I don't know. Hopefully that's not a non-answer, but
I think the ability to say, here's what I chose to do, and I could be wrong. Is the mark of humility. Right. Instead of saying, here's what I chose to do, you chose to do this. Boy, you're an idiot. Which that's where it gets a little dicey.
So I would say, I think it's important for all of us to admit to the dangers in our positions. So I think one of my concerns for people that were really strong on one candidate was they haven't really, sometimes they don't say, yeah, I'm really grappling with the weaknesses of this candidate. Or someone who decided to vote for, maybe someone decided in 2020 to vote for a Republican who wasn't on the ballot. And they're not really grappling with, okay, that could have contributed to the situation we have now. And so I think all of us just really need to grapple with our actions have consequences, and we can't know what they're going to be, and we're trying to trust the Lord, but King Jesus come, right?
Yeah.
So
right,
anyway,
right.
That's a long answer, for what I hope was a small illustration, not telling people what to do, but say, hey, just watch your motivation as you do whatever it is you do as a believer.
Yeah, and it is a matter of conscience, right? Yeah. That there's not a thus saith the Lord who to vote for. Although there may be some that do think there is, we need to humbly approach those folks and just say, hey, let's be careful.
Yeah.
I can still be a believer. I can still be your brother.
Yeah.
And not have voted the same way as you.
Yeah. And so there's some wrong motivations, and there's some wrong, and there, probably should say less, but I do want to be careful in giving political illustrations because it can get distracting. It's like one sentence gets more reaction than the whole rest of the sermon.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah, that's good. No, but I think again the thrust of the sermon was not that.
Yeah.
But just walking, especially for me, 17 through 31 was just very helpful, and the religiosity that we try to play.
Yeah.
To justify things or try to make up for things is very helpful.
Yeah, cool.
Good. All right, Daniel. Well, thanks.
Yeah,
thank you too for tuning in to the PostSunday app. Have a great rest of your day.